Sunday edition of This Is Exclusive with me, Shavan Sen. Tonight on This Is Exclusive, I come to you with the untold story of Operation Sindoor and why they are the silent killers. You'll meet them in a short while from now. Well, that was just the glimpse of what's coming up in a short while from now, but let's take you through the headlines we are tracking at this hour. Prime Minister Modi to address the nation around 8 o'clock in the evening. This will be Prime Minister's first address after Operation Sindoor. India-Pakistan DGMO level talks conclude. Sources say both sides reaffirm commitment to the ceasefire. India asks Pakistan not to resort to drone attacks or shelling.
And capacity in a dissuasive and deterrent posture with full readiness and capacity to strike select targets at sea and on land, including Karachi, at time of our choosing.
India hits back with a second round of evidence of Pakistan badgering. Indian Air Force confirms engaging targets in Karachi. 20% of Pakistan's Air Force infrastructure destroyed in India's precision strike. DGMO puts out key details of the Navy's operational readiness, reveals how Navy was close enough to carry out a land attack. A lot has been spoken about the Indian Air Force, the Indian Army, and their role in Operation Sindoor. Tonight on This Is Exclusive, we put the full focus on the Indian Navy and the untold story of how their role changed the entire outlook of Operation Sindoor. Within just 96 hours of the Pahalgam terror attack, the Indian Navy swung into full operational mode, swiftly testing its surface-to-surface missiles and air defense systems. All naval platforms were forward deployed to enable immediate prohibitive action, establishing complete tactical superiority between 7th and 9th of May. Critically, the Navy was positioned close enough to launch land attacks if necessary, while Pakistan's naval response remained minimal. The Pakistani Navy stayed confined near its coastline, unable to challenge India's overwhelming maritime presence. Ladies and gentlemen, that's just the beginning as far as the story of how the Indian Navy cornered the Pakistanis. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the untold story of the Indian Navy. What has essentially happened is that on the 24th of April, you've had the Indian Navy on the out and deployed. In fact, you've had them beginning their tests, the surface-to-surface missiles, the air defense system, the firing that actually takes place, and the video that I'm going to show you in a short while from now. But all of this happening while there was nothing much really happening on the Pakistani side. They were not even visible for a very long time, is what I'm given to understand. Starting from the 7th to the 9th is when you have had the entire Navy taking a very aggressive positioning. When I say aggressive positioning, which essentially means that they had bottled up the Pakistani Navy. I'm going to take you through all the details of what we know so far. The Navy essentially maintained a strong forward posture in the Northern Arabian Sea. I'm going to tell you the details of what happened. On 8th of May, you've had the INS Vikrant that was projected maritime dominance in Arabian Sea. So it had complete dominance. And in fact, it was so very close that if at all Navy wanted, then perhaps they could have carried out a land attack, which means Karachi was locked, which also means that they were bottled up in the harbour area. Remain forward deployed to strike high-value targets, including Karachi. Let's take you through the other details coming in. Within 96 hours, the Navy conducted live weapon firings. Forward deployment forced Pakistan into a completely defensive naval stance. Extended range radar bubble detected all Pakistan aerial intrusions early, so they did not have much option to carry out any measure. Carrier Battle Group provided the first defense and strike layer. In a short while from now, we'll have our expert joining us to help you understand this. Pakistan naval units remained confined to harbors under carrier pressure. MiG-29Ks and the AEW choppers intercepted hostile Pakistani aircraft. So there was no way that they could have carried it forward. The aircraft carrier presence deterred hostile intrusions from hundreds of kilometers. A Navy blocked Pakistani movement completely off the Karachi coast. So as I've been saying, they were bottled up. They had no other option. Carrier group operated freely and dominated the conflict zone waters. And Pakistani aircrafts pinned down near Makran, unable to engage. There was no way they could have taken aid forward. Operational edge at sea played a role in ceasefire agreement. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to do right now is going to take you through each and every specific details of what perhaps would have happened between 7th and 9th. This was the overall understanding, the inside story. Helping us understand is a Navy veteran, someone who understands every tiny details of information that comes in and has the best understanding. Captain D.K. Sharma, thank you very much for joining us on This Is Exclusive. It's the inside story that we have decided to tell the entire nation, and how perhaps the role that the Indian Navy has played helped the Air Force as well as the Army. Captain D.K. Sharma, when we say the carrier battle group formation, which I'm given to understand, which essentially means over 20 vessels, if you just simply look at the Western Command itself, give us a sense of what do you make of how the Navy carried out their entire operations, preventing the Pakistani Navy to the coastline?
Well, good evening, Shravan, first of all, and good evening to all your viewers. You have very correctly brought out that the event, all this has been triggered by the event which happened on the 22nd of April. And I've been made to understand that Indian Navy, which is as such, having mission deployed ships in the Gulf of Aden, and Operation Sindoor is going on, where we, look after our vessels which are going inside towards the Persian Gulf or the Gulf of Aden and against the Houthi attacks or the pirates. So there is one set of ships over there. Notwithstanding that, after 22nd April, we knew that things there were indications and there were a lot of parleys happening between the government, the highest leadership and the chiefs. So, and the Navy normally deploys much more earlier and will come out the last. And we have seen it during Kargil time and various other heightened states when the Navy has been deployed, that you have your set, the targets are given, the objectives are given. So one of the things which I presume would have been total, dominance. And total dominance happens when you are spread out all across the Makran coast. Number two, before a total dominance comes the maritime domain awareness, which means that all your surveillance intelligence assets will be put out and you start making an account of the adversary's assets, whether they are the submarines, whether they are the ships, where they are, where they are deployed, so that you have the complete picture before you deploy your units and what is the aim. So everything is decided with the final objective. So if I have to go and bottle up and give a decisive blow, how it will be done. So that is part one. So Indian Navy was deployed, you know it. There was missile exercises. That is
right.
Again confirming the combat readiness of the fleet ships. Then comes the role of the carrier battle group. As you have brought out the number of ships, I will not detail them, but a carrier battle group which is moving around in the Arabian Sea has a bubble over it of 500 kilometers at least. And that is ensured 24/7 when the carrier is operating. Now, how is it done? It is done by the ships, the destroyers, the frigates, the submarines, and the MiG-29Ks, which are the integral air arm of the carrier. So once that is moving, nobody can come in between that range, which can endanger the carrier, or for that matter, carrier is there for sea control. So we establish full control and then remain out of the threatened weapon zone ranges. And for that, we have pickets and various. I'm putting out now some terminology of the Navy. A picket is a ship which is much ahead in the direction of the threat or the likely direction of the threat. So there are ships there who have long-range radars and are connected to the CVG. And as such, the Navy is totally integrated, and everybody has got the wherewithal to know what is the disposition, where is the threat emanating from, where are own units. So there is quite a lot of transparency. So
right.
Once that is done, and in this case,
right.
when we struck on the 7th night, let me assure you, all the units were in position, safe, but had all information what was happening. Yeah, tell me.
Captain Sharma, I know you have to leave, but I just want to take a quick question from you. That is with regards to when I spoke to the Navy this afternoon, they told me that they were so close that you could have carried out a land attack. And perhaps since they were gridlocked, they couldn't have done much. For the people who are watching this, help us understand when you say so close that you can carry out a land attack, what does that mean? And if at all it would have happened, the kind of damage that perhaps the Pakistanis would have had to take?
As close as firing it. I will only restrict myself, and I will keep it to that only, because the situation which was started by them was avenged by us on the 7th night. And then they started provoking us again. They crossed our lines. They came with swarm drones. They did fire a ballistic missile also, which was brought down. So this is a little, escalation was happening, and the Indian Navy was ready. And when you say that we were just close, we were. Indian Navy is always like that. Once you're deployed, once you have the full picture, then the only thing remains is to fire. And that is what we call as guns free. But the guns were tight. There was no, as the DGNO was saying, that we were only positioned, but we did not, carry out the typical conventional naval action which happened during 71. That was just short of being executed. And I mean it when I say it.
Well, thank you very much, Captain D.K. Sharma, for joining us and giving us that quick analysis on the inside story that we are putting out tonight, the role that the Indian Navy played in Operation Sindoor. Shifting focus now, ladies and gentlemen, to the other big story that we're getting to you tonight. The Indian Army, in fact, released damning evidence showing senior Pakistani Army and police officials attending the funerals of the terrorists eliminated during India's precision strikes on 7th of May. Ladies and gentlemen, you remember what we played out on 7th of May. First, take a look at that, and then I'll reveal the details.
ये नुकसान, ये 9 नंबर, ये मस्जिद तैयबा मरकज उमर करा के अंदर ये नुकसान है। ये नुकसान, ये 9 नंबर, ये मस्जिद तैयबा मरकज उमर करा के अंदर ये नुकसान है। ये नुकसान ये 9 नंबर ये मस्जिद तैयबा मरकज उमर करा के अंदर ये नुकसान है। ये नुकसान ये 9 नंबर ये मस्जिद तैयबा मरकज उमर करा के अंदर ये नुकसान है।
ओए होए होए होए
ओके सर
आओ सारे थां जो है ओए होए होए मस्जिद दा सेन है सारा सारी मस्जिद उड़ गई है सारी मस्जिद तबाह हो गई। हेलो हेलो ओ बेटा बाद दे विच करना यार अपना बाद च करना जी भाई ना जी भाई ना मरकज दे विच होए ने 4 सारा तबाह हो गई मरकज। हाँ जी हाँ जी बहुत ज्यादा होया जगह। हाँ जी ओ यार सबर मैं भाई करना तेन बाद च
बंदे भी उन्होंने
ਉਹ ਆਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਉੱਤੇ ਨੇ।
ओ हेलो भाई
ਉਹ ਭਾਈ ਕੋਈ ਹੈ ਉੱਤੇ ਉਹ ਭਾਈ ਕੋਈ ਹੈ ਉੱਪਰ
तारा आके लगी इधर हो जाओ।
हैं पिछो लाइट मेन लाइट।
Well, this time the Pakistanis themselves put out the proof. But tonight on This Is Exclusive, we could take it a step further. Now we show you what the Indian Army had to say after these targets were accomplished. This is the proof, ladies and gentlemen, the before and after pictures of the muridke camp. A camp that was financed by none other than Osama bin Laden. They spent about $10 million for construction of a mosque, a guest house within the Markaz Taiba complex. This was back in the year 2000. Let's not forget, this is the same very place where 26/11 Mumbai attacks Ajmal Kasab was given what they call Daura-e-Ribat, which is the intelligence training at this facility. This is also the very place where David Coleman Headley and Tahawur Hussain Rana, the prime conspirators of the 26/11 attacks, had visited along with Abdul Rahman Syed Pasha as well as Zakir Rahman Lakhvi. In fact, this very camp, which was basically bombed, we are given to understand Lashkar-e-Toiba terrorists Amir Hamza, Abdul Rahman Abid and Zafar Iqbal were also residing. Now, this is just the background of this very place that was blown apart, and several of the designated terrorists were also present there when this place was hit. Now, what happens thereafter? The aftershock. Ladies and gentlemen, you have had top Pakistani generals colluding with this Lashkar-e terrorists. In fact, soon after muridke bombing actually happened, there was a funeral that was conducted, and in the funeral you've had Lashkar-e-Toiba commander Abdul Rauf as well as Abdul Rauf, who was present there. Now, it's not shocking, of course there would have been some funeral. We have to just change the breaking also. Let's also now take you through how exactly have the Pakistani generals in collusion with Lashkar-e-Toiba terrorists carried out their entire work. What you see right now on your screen. Senior commander of Lashkar-e-Toiba, that is Abdul Rauf. Abdul Rauf is the senior commander there. In fact, if you see this, what I'm holding right now is the global sanctions list against this man. It's against this man called Abdul Rauf. He's designated as the global terrorist by US since 2010. Let's move on. I'll just show you the face. Named and accused of the involvement in 2008 Mumbai terror attacks. Accused of being the mastermind of 2006 Mumbai train bombings. Seen leading funeral prayers for Lashkar-e-Toiba operatives neutralized in Operation Sindoor. In fact, what you see is the collusion here. Closely associated with Munir, army officials and Pak ISI. Now I'm going to name each one of these Pakistan generals, officers who have been seen with this man and why it goes right at the top. On your screens right now, Here you go. Let's begin with Lieutenant General Fayaz Hussain Shah. Now, I'm going to take you through each of these people. Now, what do you see? All these military officers here. Now, this man is none other than Brigadier Muhammad Furqan Shabir. He is the commander of the 15 Heavy Mechanized Brigade in Lahore, very close to Pakistan Army Chief Asim Munir. This man that you see just next to here, mourning the loss of the Lashkar-e-Toiba terrorists. Let's take you to the other one. The second person is also from the Pakistani Army. He is Lieutenant General Fayaz Hussain Shah. He is the officer of the Corps Commander, 4 Corps Commander in Lahore. Again, the hub of the Pakistan Army. That was hit, Muridke was hit, and they were, of course, upset. Major General Rao Imran Sartaj, he is the General Officer of the 11th Infantry Division in Lahore. He too is essentially seen just next to Abdul Rauf. Now let me take you through the other person. This man is Dr. Usman Anwar. He is the Inspector General of Police, Punjab in Pakistan. He is very much seen there mourning the death of Lashkar-e-Toiba terrorists. And then you have one more person who is part of this funeral, that is Malik Shoaib Ahmed Barth. He's the member of the Provincial Assembly of Punjab. So you've had the civilian administration, the Pakistani Army, the Punjab police, all present there when Lashkar-e-Toiba terrorists' funeral was actually going on. And this man, the United States of America perhaps should also take a look at it. If you really believe that we can have any deal with Pakistan, can you actually have any deal with Pakistan when this man that you see, that not us, the United States of America has also designated him as a global terrorist. If the United States of America has designated him as the global terrorist along with the entire Pakistan army, then, ladies and gentlemen, how does it exactly happen? Now, take a look at close watch at these terrorists, putting up on your screens right now, all of them together, starting from Pakistan Army's top generals, and this is, after all, the face of the jihadi terror operating out of Pakistan, being given full support by the Pakistani Army. And it does not just end with the Pakistani Army. We are talking about the top hierarchy. Now, it is important to point out here that this man who's behind the 2611, this man, the face of Lashkar terrorist, was also responsible for the radicalization of Ajmal Kasab. He was the one who had basically provided training to Ajmal Kasab, the 2611 attacker, named and accused of being mastermind of 2006 Mumbai train bombings. And this man, seen leading funeral prayers for Lashkar-e-Toiba operatives neutralized in Operation Sindoor. So, ladies and gentlemen, if this man who has been designated as a terrorist, seen with Pakistani army, can the United States of America now say that we can actually have any sort of understanding with them? Well, that's all that we could have packed in this edition of This Is Exclusive. Coming up in a short while from now, all set for Prime Minister's address for the first time after the successful Operation Sindoor.
At Amity, we are committed to building a stronger India through world-class education and research, to nurture ideal citizens who, together with the leaders of today and tomorrow, will make India a world superpower. Amity University, India's leading not-for-profit private university.
अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने।
विमल में गुलिस्तां की ये कुछ लजीज फरिश्ते जब साथ घुले तो जी ललचाए और दिल कहे कि स्वाद की इस जुबान में खुद को ऐसा डुबाऊं कि निकल ना पाऊं। विमल की जुबान कुछ है ही ऐसी, मानते हैं ना? विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
यार, मार्केट कैसा ऊपर नीचे होता है।
याद रख, करियर, इन्वेस्टमेंट और लाइफ में ऊपर नीचे होता रहता है यार।
वो तो है।
बस भाई डटे रहे, तभी तो अपने सपने पूरे कर सकता है।
सही है।
लाइफ और म्यूचुअल फंड्स में लॉन्ग टर्म सोचना
सही है।
सही है। हाँ।
म्यूचुअल फंड निवेश बाजार जोखिमों के अधीन है। योजना से जुड़े सभी दस्तावेजों को ध्यान से पढ़ें।
Namaskar. My name is Ambassador Deepak Vora, and today we are going to talk about a very interesting, great game that is being played in South Asia, in which Pakistan is both the target and the prize. Why do I say that? For many years, Pakistan was a colony of the United States, a Mahachamcha of the United States. Then it switched its allegiance to China, claiming that its friendship with China was higher than the mountains, deeper than the sea, sweeter than honey. Well, that honey has become putrid. The mountains seem to be much lower than was initially thought, and the sea is much shallower than the Pakistanis would like it to be. China got very upset over two things as far as the conflict with India, the ongoing conflict with India is concerned. We are today recording this message on the 11th of May. China first got upset that Pakistan was using Chinese weapons